Hello boys and girls, welcome to another episode of FoulkesBrau. Today is Tuesday the 14th of April. We are day 19 of a 35 day lockdown. It was the Easter weekend. I hope you had a blessed, relaxed holiday. Some interesting developments over the weekend in the news. But before we get there, let's have a quick look at our stats. And it's quite interesting because we have started accumulating enough data that we can make some sort of trends, projections and things like that, which we will see later on, and how that ties up to what the government is saying. So currently, as of today, our infections, what you'll notice as well is I've put a bunch of conditional formatting in, rules that will highlight certain cells based on certain criteria. But anyway, number of infections as it stands 24 hours ago, remember we're 24 hours behind, 2,272. That means I've added a column for infections per day. That means we went up by 99 infections. Number of deaths, we're standing at 27. Day-on-day growth, we can see 4.56%. Number of tests carried out to date, 83,663. That means our testing for the previous day was 3,578. Interestingly enough, that gives us an average of tests per day of 3,436. Our percentage of the infected versus tests, 2.72. Population stays at 60 million. And the percentage of the population tested, 0.14%. Our mortality rate, 1.19%. The rand as it's sitting this morning to the US dollar, 18 rand to $1, means we've had a decline of 11.28%. In the news, very, very, very interesting. Let's just come to News 24. Over the weekend we've had, before we get there, today basically the Liquor Council of South Africa has they've given the President Cyril Ramaphosa until today to respond to their ultimatum, whatever you want to call it, demands, requests, whatever. What they're saying is they want to open the alcohol business again. The interesting thing on that is that the taverns have jumped on the bandwagon. They're saying, okay, great, we want to be able to open as well. Now, for those of you not aware of what a tavern is like a bar. So they want to be able to open as well, but with whatever restrictions of not more than 50 people in the bar and social distancing of 1 meter in the bar. Now, any of you who are familiar with a bar know that there's no such thing as a social distancing of 1 meter per person or whatever. And the reason you're going to a bar is to get hammered. You're not actually going there to just have a quick pint and pop out. No, you're going there to socialize. So I don't think the taverns are on the right path there. What I do think is the bottle stores and those sort of businesses, and the restaurants as well, what they should allow them to do is open, but on a strict, ideally, first prize would be you could have an app and you get onto the app and go to them and you order and they deliver on, you order online and they deliver to your door. That would be first prize. Or you order, they make up your order and you just go pick it up. That would all drive through. That ideally, you don't want congregations of people, and we will see why that is. In other news, the DA's come out with their their plan to try and bring some sort of economic reform into this instead of having a total shutdown. And they've got their plan, and they reckon we can work it like load shedding. And I'm a bit skeptical about this because, and we'll see why. The problem is great. How do we? You cannot handle this pandemic in waves. So if you start getting infections, now we step it up. Now we go into isolation. Then it slows down. Then we go back out. No, you can't mess around like that. So I don't think they've thought that one through, or I haven't seen the whole plan, so I'm not. But that's the gist of it, unless I understand it wrong, in which I guess I apologize. But what I think is that they should allow businesses, smaller businesses, to open, but ideally where they can operate on a online delivery basis type thing. That would be first prize. And of course, in the news over the weekend, we've had a lot of trouble with booze, as usual. We've had, especially in the Western Cape, guys breaking into liquor shops or liquor stores and robbing the place. And we've had them hijacking booze trucks, export booze or whatever, and the guys are now hijacking it. So clearly there's a problem. Open up the bottle stores, but ideally do whatever. Interestingly enough, now the cops are on the bandwagon, because over the weekend 7 cops were arrested in a booze shop break-in. Apparently these guys from what I understand, they helped Jippo the alarm so that they could break in and steal booze. So now the cops are in on it. So you've got issues. In other news, there were a bunch of other cops that were bust for helping some shebeen or tavern transport his liquor illegally. So they were in on the bandwagon on that. Yeah, so the booze seems to be a big issue in South Africa, and I think they should relook at it, open it, but control it. If you can have an online app, like I know with Mr. Delivery, and I'm not punting Mr. Delivery, they have an online app, and I've noticed before this lockdown that you could go on the app, and then they would say, oh, okay, if you want alcohol, you can order alcohol, and you can actually order from, I don't know which shop it was. I think it might have been Checkers or whatever, and you could make up your booze order, and then they would deliver it to your house. The only thing is, and I mean, I had a big beard then, which was funny, so the guy would come and deliver it to your house, and he would ask you for your ID. Strange. I don't look old enough. Yeah, so anyway, I think the way to do it is control it. If you can have an online app that you can order online, and they can make your order up and deliver it first prize, or you go and pick it up even with the second prize. But you don't want people wandering around the shops, and we will get to why we don't want that. Anyway, there was an interesting article or transcript released last night. A guy called Salim Abdul Kareem, he's a professor, and he's an epidemiologist, and he's the way I understand it, he is like the chief advisor to the government, looking at the trends and how this thing is going, and where and why and whatever. Basically, in social media, we have 2 camps going on. We have the guys that are saying, open it, we're not being affected like as badly as Europe was, or America, unfortunately, is going through. We are special, we can do whatever, so open it, let's get back to work. And then you have the other camp that are saying, hang on. Now, yes, if you think about it, we are way behind the curve compared to where Italy was. They were saying at one stage, no, but we're 2 weeks behind Italy. I think we're actually a lot further than that behind Italy. So it hasn't hit here, or it hasn't hit as badly here, whatever. What these guys have done, these clever guys, and I'm not taking the piss when I say it, I'm really very respectful. What these doctors and healthcare professionals have done is, if you read the stories, is they've basically said, we have bought time. In other words, we've tried to slow the infection rate as far as possible so that we can get ready for the tsunami that is going to break. Nobody is denying that we are going to have a tsunami of infections. What they're saying is they've slowed it to a point where they can sort of get into a state of preparedness. And that's what they've done with this initial lockdown. In the article, and he's got some very, very valid points. They talk about the 4 stages of preparedness, and then 5, 6, 7, and 8. And if we just come basically, I will link these articles in the comments down below. Where is his okay, the first stage he was talking about educating the public and creating lab capacity. Stage 2 was encouraging social distancing and instituting a shutdown, which we are now. Stage 3 was intensifying the curtailment of human interaction. And the 4th stage would be door-to-door testing. So now what they've tried to do is buy time, and what going forward, what he's talking about is stage 5 is to identify hotspots and intervention strategies. Stage 6 is medical care, like expanding hospital bed numbers and field hospitals. Stage 7 is expanding the burial capacity and regulating funerals and magnifying psychological and social impact. Stage 8 is the ongoing vigilance of the virus. What we have to take into account, if we come back to our numbers, we are testing on average 3,000 people a day, on average. If you go and look at the numbers that a country like France is testing, it is way, way more. They're testing 30,000 plus people a day. We are testing a tenth of it, and our population is way bigger. Now, granted, I understand you don't need to test the whole population, but what this professor was saying is, we are doing a lot of tests, and I don't understand this. They keep referring to it. It's what did they call it? They keep calling it. That they are testing in the private sector. I don't know what they mean with that. In other words, they're not testing in the public sector or whatever. if I read between what they're actually trying to say is they're testing, the test that they've done is like middle class, wealthy individuals type thing. They haven't actually started mass testing in the poorer suburbs or the poorer areas. In other words, where this thing is really going to hit, where they're not taking off. So I don't know why they keep differentiating that thing. Either way, to come back to our numbers, we are only testing on average 3,436 people a day. I want to show you something. If we take, let's see if I can do this. I wonder if it will switch over for you. I've just plotted a little chart here with basically the bottom, if we look at the number of infections is on the left and the infections per day. Well, sorry, the number of infections, the top left chart, and the days on the bottom, so day 0, 5, 10, 15, whatever. And the number of the infections is on the left. This is based on, if you think of it, it will correlate back to the number of infections that you are, the number of tests that you're doing a day. You ramp this test up, or the number of tests you're doing a day, the better this chart will look. Either way, what is interesting is if you look at this this chart, you can see it is rising. And if we take a best fit curve on that chart, it's actually an exponential plot. So in other words, the infections are growing exponentially. And this is what Professor Kareem is talking about. He says, unfortunately, this thing does grow exponentially. So the way that they're looking at it in other countries is basically it's a 3-to-1 type thing or more. So for every, like me, if I get it, then I infect 3 people, and each one of those goes on to infect 3 more people. So I infect 3, they infect another 3 each, so that'll be 9 and 27, and so we go on. So you can see that this thing, well, 3, 9, 27, so forth, so on and so forth. And so you can see that this thing really grows exponentially, but we're not testing enough, so we don't have a fair idea yet. So if we put a best fit projection on this, and we actually put an exponential curve, we can see by day 35 we will be sitting well, about, what's that, about 4,250 infections, which doesn't sound like a lot at all, but you would have probably carried out 10, 30, 90, maybe 100,000 tests. So that's not very much. 100,000 tests out of 60 million is actually nothing. So they need to obviously ramp up their testing facilities to get a really good idea about this. Now, coming back to the people that want to open trade and save the economy and whatever. Countries overseas, Germany, being one of them, has said, okay, we're going to start relaxing some of the lockdown restrictions, and certain businesses can trade again and whatever. One of the top doctors in France, they were interviewing him, and he said, okay, great, we will start to relax the lockdown criteria when, and he has his when. So we can see this curve is going up. The projected rate is just going up, 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 up. They saying they will relax their restrictions. Not when this curve is going up and not when it's flattened, but when it's actually turned, when it's going down. That is when they're looking at easing their restrictions and lockdown in most of Europe and like France and those places. So it's not good enough that the infection rate has flattened. It's got to turn. It's got to be on the down cycle, because, and this is what this professor is saying, if they don't have it on the down cycle and they start easing the restrictions, then this thing can come back and bite us in the arse. In other words, it starts all over again. So the cycle starts again. The other thing we've got to remember in South Africa, we are coming out of summer now. From what we've read and what we understand, all the news out there about this disease is it doesn't like the heat. It likes a colder, more humid, whatever environment to thrive, like flu. In South Africa, we're coming out of summer. We're going into winter. So that could be part of why we haven't seen, well, the testing and our environment. But as we start getting colder and we start getting into the more favorable climes for this disease, all hell is going to break loose if we don't kill it. And the only way we can kill it is if it hasn't got anywhere to go. So that's why you're staying in lockdown. You have it, you get over it, you don't transmit it to anyone. I don't know if you ever get immune to this thing. You obviously must build some sort of immunity or whatever, I don't know. But either way, you get over it and it's done. And you haven't given it to anybody, then it's gone. But if you're out and about mingling, you are transmitting it. Okay? The other problem is that you can if you get this thing and you don't even have to have the symptoms yet, within a couple of days you can transmit this thing. I think they talk about 4 to 7 days or something. They call it the incubation period, and you're already transmitting it before you even know that you have it. So it is a very difficult call, and I'd like to know your thoughts about it, because I'm in two minds. I know that this is going to fuck our economy badly, but we also have to consider the loss of life. They're talking about slowly bringing mining back in online or things like this. Implats has got a thing they need to keep certain of their things going. Anyone that's been in a mine or been in the mining environment knows that there is no such thing as social distancing. You are underground. No, in South Africa there is no such thing as social distancing, not in that sort of environment. So I cannot see how they're going to control that. And I'm not knocking whatever business or whatever that I'm applying critical thought, and I'm thinking, how is it possible that you are going to keep that social distancing, or how are you going to enforce it? It makes no sense. Remember, it takes one person to get it, and the infection just it goes like wildfire. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of what the political parties are jumping up and down and trying to say at the moment. Are they genuinely concerned, or are they trying to score political points? this is not the time to be pointing fingers or scoring political points. I honestly believe where we are at this moment, especially at this time, this season of the year, where we're going, that we haven't even seen the beginning of this disease. We really, really haven't seen anything yet. I think as they conduct more tests, remember we are on average doing 3,400 tests, as these guys roll out more tests and start getting up to their 10,000 number that they were aiming for, 30,000 or 100,000 or whatever they can get to, we will have a bigger picture, and I think it's going to become more scary. What I suspect you will see is this graph will become, much steeper. The gradient will be much steeper as we get a better picture of the infections. And I think now going into autumn, winter, that this thing, because in South Africa you just have to turn on the news to hear the snot going on. Over the weekend we are in lockdown. They bust over 600 motorists in the Western Cape alone over the Easter weekend traveling. You can do your own deduction of who it was, what it was, but either way, 600 motorists that they bust in the Western Cape alone, and it's basically on the Garden route, so it's basically Cape Town Plate. That's one route out of Cape Town. Now, if we can't even stick to the basic lockdown principle, and we start getting to winter when it's cold and this thing thrives, you can imagine how quickly it's going to spread. It is just going to go crazy. And that comes back to Professor Kareem's paper. I will link the news article in the comments below. Please go and read it. It is very, very sobering. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's not magic, throw the bones. This guy is really applying the maths and looking at where, why, and how, and could it go to. Let's just come back to our news. There was a good news story that I had. I wonder if I've still got it. No. No. But basically it was a guy in Cape Town. So if I remember correctly, he has 23 staff. So he has a little restaurant type thing, and what he managed to do is get himself, he was registered as an essential services or food provider or whatever they call it. So he was preparing meals and whatever, and selling them like family size meals, and they were quite reasonably priced. I think like a cottage pie for 4 was something like 120 South African rand, which is nothing. You're not going to make that at home for that price. But anyway, he had this reasonable pricing and these meals, and so basically you could phone, order your meal, go pick it up and go home, like no contact type thing. And people started complaining about this on social media, not the service he was offering, but about, because obviously I don't know if he was Afrikaans or something, but his spelling of his of his menu was delicious to say the least. So people were complaining on social media, and somebody picked this up, and they went to investigate, and they shut him down. And the reason that they gave him, remember now he's keeping 24 of his staff fully paid, because he's keeping the business going, providing food to people, and he's managing to pay his staff. Anyway, they shut him down. And the reason that the police gave him is because part of his license for his business was that he had an on-consumption liquor license. So in other words, an on-consumption license is a thing that allows you to go and sit in a restaurant and have a beer or a glass of wine or whatever with your meal. So that's why they shut him down, not because of what he was doing, but because of his liquor license. So now he's had to send all his staff home with all his ingredients. But I thought it was quite a, well, it's sad in retrospect, but I thought it was a good thing that he was trying to do. Rabid anti-booze police minister is, he's still anti-booze, but whatever. He is now threatened to lock down on brewing at home. So, but I think I don't think he realized about how many home brewers there are. He's talking about in the townships, the guys making like Mkomboti and those sort of things, the local beers. But the outrage on social media, well, especially for me, I'm a home brewer, and this anti-booze thing is killing a lot of. Never mind in South Africa. I mean, we can see in social media the pinch it's having on craft breweries in South Africa, but worldwide the guys are suffering, and it's again they should open it on a online order delivery thing. But anyway. What I've seen on social media is a lot of my followers, friends, whatever, are all brewing their own. Oh God, it ranges from pineapple beer to what's the other one? There's like a Hunter's Gold clone where you put in a whole lot of apples and whatever. I want to see the Minister of Police. What is he going to do? Go around door to door? Are you brewing? What's he going to do? Confiscate all your kegs and bottles? No. Leave the homebrewers alone. On a lighter note, though, for those of you that are trying all this pineapple beer and all these weird concoctions at home. When you're going to bottle it in plastic. Do not bottle it in glass, especially if you don't know what you're doing, because otherwise you're going to end up with glass bombs all over your house, and that could be quite dangerous. Trust me, I know. I've had glass bottles exploding when I was learning to brew. Not funny. Rather, put it in plastic, and you can see the bottle expand, and as it gets bigger, you can just open the top and release the pressure. But don't go put it in glass. Anyway, so there is a whole bunch of budding home brewers with this prohibition period in South Africa that are becoming very enterprising and to make their own brews. I'd actually be quite curious to taste some of this stuff, because I can imagine if it's not a controlled brewing environment. And I remember when I started brewing, those first batches were just horrible, terrible shit. Anyway, yeah, as well, the fucking anti-smokers, they are still on the anti-booze brigade and the anti-smokers, they're still on their tirade, and I don't get it. I don't care. I mean, who the hell are they? Nothing. So yeah, the holier than thou, you know. Oh yes, two idiots, two Poms, two Brits that shot the border. Basically, they ran the border at Swaziland. ran away from the police, drove all the way down to Durban, booked into a guest house, and then they got arrested there. I don't know why they're crashing borders. I don't know what they're up to. Yeah, I don't care about which is the epicenter of the COVID virus. Yeah, we don't particularly care. Let's see, South African news. EWN is just useless as. Yeah, there's not really. Yeah, more liquor looting is 3 arrested in Stellenbosch. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction when they decided to lock everything down. Just knee-jerk, lock it down quickly. Didn't pay much thought to it. But I still think they are going to have to relax the trade on liquor and cigarettes and non-essential things. I mean, I saw stuff on social media where a guy went to a shop, to the whatever, I don't want to mention the name of the shop, but he went to the shop and he bought whatever he needed to, and he wanted to buy antifreeze for his car, and they wouldn't sell him the antifreeze because it's not an essential item. So he bought what he needed to, walked across the road to the garage and bought the antifreeze there, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Another guy wanted to buy, I don't know what you call the machine, it must be one of these funny dough maker things. I don't know if it's called a dough maker, but it needs the dough and whatever, and so you can make bread, and they wouldn't sell him the machine because it's not an essential item. Now it's funny, and I don't, well, it's funny, my local shop where I go, in Broadacres, where I do my shopping, I went the other day because I needed some stuff, and I thought I'd buy, basically, I walk up, and when I go to the shops, I walk up and down each aisle quickly, and because I don't make lists, I know, useless, and then I will remember what I want, and I will buy it as I'm going past. And if I see something that I didn't want or remember, I will buy that probably 9 times in 10. And I bought batteries. In fact, I bought light bulbs. Oh, I bought acetone nail polish, remember, because I use it after I've cleaned a PC board with IPA. I usually use a bit of acetone over that because it takes the stickiness away. I bought acetone, which I don't think is an essential good. I bought a sewing kit, needles and thread. There was a whole bunch of little knick-knack shit that I bought, and they didn't stop me from buying it. So I really think they must just do away with this essential goods rubbish and get on with it. One thing that I did notice at my shop is, maybe obviously being Easter weekend, but even before that, there is a huge shortage of things like chocolate, not like the normal chocolate, like I don't know, Milky Bar, whatever, crunchy. Huge shortage of chocolate, crisps of all things. What do you call this? It's like lemon juice, those sort of things. So stuff with citric acid. I don't know why you would be wanting that, but gone, all empty. what was the other one? It was some, not, yeah, flour was quite, baking flour, cake flour was quite empty. There was a few other things, but it's, I don't know, some of the things are just strange. The pet food side was fine. That was quite stocked in my shop. But things like lemon juice, chocolates, crisps, weird stuff. Very, very big shop. Oh, and certain batteries, double A's. You just couldn't find them. I actually, because next to my shop is a chemist, I actually popped in just to get some Sinucon just in case, and some headache stuff just in case. And I bought their last big pack of double A cells. So yeah, strange things that people are buying in the chemist. The things that would the things, so like multivitamins, like vitamin C, empty. You just couldn't find vitamin C anywhere. There was another one. It's like a multi-vitamin Centrum or something like that. Gone. You just don't find anything in the shops. So yeah, I don't know, people are just buying stupid things. But anyway, we'll find out today how the petition or whatever, what the president's response will be to these guys to sell alcohol, and how they're going to go about it. Like I said, I've got nothing against it. I drink, I smoke. Well, I haven't smoked in about a week now, but I've got this vape thing, so yeah, it's been keeping me going. I had to do a repair on the battery charger. Then we made a video about it, but I smoke, I drink, and I don't think they should be trying to control it like they are. What I do say is there should be no go and sit down and drink bullshit. You should be at home as far as possible in a lockdown. So the more they can bring back where they have an online thing that they deliver, use Mr. Delivery, use whatever, the services from that, the better. Even if they could do that with your grocery shopping, that would be great. That you go online to your Spa app. I like Spa. I'm a Spa fan. So you go online to your favorite shop and you make up your trolley basket. They make your order together and they pack it, whatever. You pay with your credit card or whatever, and then they deliver it. Perfect. You didn't have to go out. I know it's lazy, but in this time we should be adhering to that, and I think that would be safer for the personnel working in the shops as well, because they won't have us masses coming through them. They have the chances of their getting infected go down. Do the same with bottle stores. Do the same with restaurants, the KFCs that everybody's craving, or the chicken lickens. I see the tweets all about the McNuggets and I don't know what rubbish that people are craving, or the wings. So do the same thing with the restaurants. Let them sign up with Mr. Delivery. Mr. Delivery will continue. They put their whatever delivery fee on and they make their money. The restaurant keeps their staff employed and they make their money, and you get what you need. I know it's simplistic, but that's one way of doing it. And do the same with the bottle stores. I mean, it's a pleasure. You just go online. I want 2 cases of beer, 3 cases of beer, 4 bottles of whiskey, and 10 cartons of cigarettes. Thank you. Cheers. Bye. Didn't have to leave home. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I'm going to link this news article from Professor Kareem down in the comments below. Please go ahead, read it, and let me know your comments down below. As always, take care during this lockdown. Stay safe. and we'll catch you soon. Cheers.